I'm going to let them introduce their special guest. He's wearing a hat, so that's kind of special. All right, y'all got the show.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you, Mary?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing good. You had a good weekend?
Yeah, it was all right.
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Couple little celebrations. 30th wedding anniversary,
30th
my husband's birthday.
Okay.
So
That's exciting.
yeah,
And we've got roll call coming up.
we do. So again, if you are interested in attending a roll call luncheon, it's on September 23rd. Our speaker is John Lucky Luckadoo, 100-year-old World War II veteran, and he's going to tell his story, and he's going to tell a little bit about how he got the nickname Lucky. And so that'll be a really great time. If you are not on our email list already and you don't get the newsletter, the way that you can get on the list to come to the luncheon, because we have to have RSVPs for obvious reasons. You have to have enough food. You don't want to have more people than you can put in the hall. You have to RSVP, and we will keep the RSVP line open until we fill up. And once we're full, we're full. But you can RSVP by emailing info@roll-call.org, and that will get you there. Or you can call 817-507-5879. And it will be a really good time. It starts at 11:30, but as we all know, by 11 o'clock, the building is pretty full. We typically have about 500 people in the hall for the luncheon. It is free for veterans. It is, we ask for a $10 donation from the non-vets to cover the cost of their meal. So really great. You know, it's if you haven't been to a luncheon, you got to come, because there's something to be a part of. It's not anything you can explain. It's just a feeling. So that's coming up. We're knocking on the door here.
We're looking forward to it. And that's where we met our guest, Bill Henry.
Yeah.
I kind of met Bill a little bit before that because he lives in our neighborhood. So we're kind of neighbors. We live in Ridgely Hills out off of Camp Bowie. But Bill is a United States Army veteran, Vietnam veteran, and he's from the great state of Missouri.
That's where I was born, Boone
Okay.
County.
Boone County, and that's where Columbia is.
It's
isn't it?
exactly
Okay.
University of Missouri.
Okay. Everybody's heard of them.
Well, few have.
Most people have.
They used to have a football team, but it disappeared.
So did some professional teams around here.
Yeah. Used to it.
Yeah. And so you grew up there, and then you went in the Army?
Well, I went to school, college. I wasn't the best student. Had to go to summer school to finish up, and that's when the draft happened, or the lottery for the
Selective
draft.
service.
So I ended up number 8. So I figured
That's not a kind of lottery you want to win.
Yeah.
pretty
for
good
sure.
chance I'm going. So I went to the draft board and said, need 3 hours to get my real degree. She said, you got it. And then called me a couple weeks after that. Didn't forget me. And there I went.
And so how old were you?
21.
Okay, you're kind of old guy.
I was kind of
then.
old guy
Yeah.
for
for getting in the Army. I mean, it doesn't seem that way. 21
well, I
seems
was kind of an old
young,
man. Amongst
Yeah,
some
well,
of those,
considering some of the folks he hangs out with these days, you got, guys that in World War II said they were 18 when they were really 15. So,
Well, yeah.
he really was kind of the old guy, right?
But yeah, that's brings to mind all these old guys, the greater generation. I'm kind of taken aback that I'm even here. It should be about them.
Well, it's about all the people that served.
Yeah. As we like to say, this is a good time to say it. Everybody has a story, and every story matters, right? And so we think about
Yes.
you bring up the greatest generation, and we think about the greatest generation. And here is part of what I just love about Bill is he's so humble, and he doesn't recognize the power of him sharing his story and how it helps so many people, because the greatest generation came home to parades and ticker tapes and confetti and all that wonderful stuff. And then Korea happened, right? The Korean War conflict. And those guys are the forgotten war guys, right? They are nobody really pays any attention to them. They kind of feel like they're just not there. But then you got the Vietnam era veterans. And for people like me I graduated high school and went in the military in 1978. So I'm old enough to remember.
She outranks everybody here.
She does,
things that were happening during Vietnam and how they were treated when they came home. And so
Exactly.
you went from parades to nothingness, basically, to protest and spitting on them and calling them names. And so when we think about our Vietnam veterans that had to go through that treatment, it's no wonder that they don't share, and it's no wonder that they're not very vocal about their service because of the way that they were treated. And we have to right that wrong, and we have to fix that, because when they're not speaking and when they're not telling the story and they're not talking about those things, they're pushing them down, and they're doing it in ways that are destructive. And
disrespectful.
Yes. And as we've gotten to know Bill, and Bill is just such a character and really, really humble and one of the most helpful, kind people that I've met. And if my husband likes him, and that says a lot, right? Because my husband doesn't really.
Nobody.
Yeah, he's a very. There's not very many people going to get in his circle, but he really likes Bill.
Oh hell, he's a good guy.
So
he bought us some beverages.
he will. He's happy to buy adult
man.
beverages. But your story really matters, and it matters because when you tell your story and you share your experiences, it makes it okay for other people to do the same.
Well, you guys, I can't say enough, for lack of a better term, kind of pulled me out of the closet. Vietnam wise.
It did take a few adult beverages to pry him out.
It did. And you got me up in front of roll call with Mark, and I was scared to death. And here I am again, scared to death. I'm not used to this, but we'll get through it if you guys keep helping.
Well, let's go back to, you got drafted, went to basic training.
Fort Leonard Wood.
Fort Leonard Wood. They always call it Fort Lost in the Woods.
Well, that's a true story.
What time of year did you go?
I went in August.
Okay, so pretty warm.
A little muggy,
Yeah.
a little warm. I was in decent shape, and no problem there. But the usual, basic training things. Little
But you
adjustment.
said, we talked the other day, and you said that you had pretty nice barracks.
Our barracks were like dormitories.
Yeah. Now,
A little-
my barrack,
A little starker.
Larry, where did you go to basic?
Fort Ord.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's where I did AIT.
They had the old barracks there.
They
Fort
were
Ord.
antique shiplap wooden. Yeah.
And that's the kind of barracks I went to. And in the latrine, they didn't have partitions.
Oh, that was,
between the
I'll
commodes.
never
You
forget.
have to get used to sitting this close to somebody and
I've got
taking care of your
stories
morning
about
ritual.
that at Fort Ord. Walking in, there's about 11 potties sitting there. Nothing, just that's it. And I'm thinking, this is going to be fun.
After a couple of days, you get used to it. You got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, well, that brings up another story. At the end of AIT, when they're making you a real Army man.
And you went to AIT at Fort Ord.
Yes.
So Larry's been to Fort Ord. I was at Fort Ord, and you were at Fort Ord. Beautiful place.
Well, it is beautiful, but it was kind of getting old. But
Quick.
huh?
Quick.
Got
But
old quick, yeah.
it did. Running in the sand yes. But we have a 2-week bivouac at the end of grunt school that makes you a real Army man, supposedly.
Bivouac is like camping out.
It's
Only
a big,
different.
It's an Army camping trip.
The Air Force doesn't know about that. Because
And
Well,
let
choose
me-
wisely.
Let me tell you this little story about the military and the branches. They all use stars. The Navy, they navigate by the stars. The Army and Marines, they sleep under the stars. And the Air Force, they rate their hotels with stars. So.
I always say people have choices. Choose wisely.
I tell you what, though, I compared stories with some B-52 pilots with their survival training.
Well, they had to go through a lot of survival training.
And with my escape and evasion training, mine was a joke compared to what they went through.
Yeah.
And this one character I met, Marshall Reeves, he flew for Air America, but he said it was a piece of cake. All he had to do was sneak in about 6 Snicker bars. He's got a hell of a story. We don't have enough time to tell it, but anyways, back to the
basic training or AIT
to the potties at Fort Ord. On that bivouac, I had been resisting for as long as I could, and it was the last day. And again, up on top of a hill, a 2-holer with no walls or anything. I thought, I can't wait
forever.
Can't wait any longer. And I went up there and sat down, and here came a slick
helicopter,
a Huey, flared, landed, and a 2-star jumped out of it. And I thought, what the hell do I do here? Do I stand up? Do I salute? What? So I just sat there, and it worked. He didn't see me, didn't pay me, but I'll never forget that one.
Mm-hmm.
So from AIT, you went directly to Vietnam, correct?
I had a couple weeks leave. Went from Columbia to Kansas City Airport to Oakland Army Base, and then got that 22-hour flight.
It's a long way.
It was a long flight. I remember landing in Benoit. The guy said, "You guys on the port side, that gray smoke out there is a fresh air strike." And I thought, oh, shoot. This ain't TV.
It's a real deal, huh?
And then I got off the airplane, and it smelled funny. Vietnam smelled different. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm like a dog. But anyways, there we were. And the cav came over and said, "Come with me." And had a little in-country training. And they shipped me off to my 8th Troop, 1st and 9th. And there we went.
And you were with the Air Mobile, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
1st Cav Division, Air Mobile.
And you were
8th Troop, 1st and
a
9th.
light weapons infantry
Yes.
person.
Yes.
Man, I guess you call it back then.
Well, grunt.
11
Bravo.
11 Bravo.
Bush.
Okay.
And our unit flew the hunter killer teams, which is the Cobra and the Loach.
Loach is a little bitty helicopter.
A little bitty.
Cobra's kind of an attack helicopter.
It's a 2-seat front and back gunship made by Bell. And the Loach was a Hughes 500D, 4-bladed main, little bitty 4-seater, sounded like a bumblebee. And they were flying at treetop trying to draw fire. They'd roll out, Cobras would roll in, and they get knocked down way too often. And that was part of our job, rescuing those guys.
So if somebody got knocked down, then you'd fly in there on a Huey?
Yeah, we were on Slicks, and
Slick is a
Huey.
Without
nickname for
all the armament. They have a 50 cal or anything?
Well, they had 2 door gunners.
Okay.
And on one of them, one of the guys got fancy mounted 50. The thing looked lopsided hanging out of that, but it worked. And we'd fly in with those and either jump out or sometimes we had to rappel.
Okay. And you had to rappel quite a ways down.
The rope was 110 feet. And you wanted that thing just above the ground. So when you hit the ground, you didn't have to unravel out of your D-ring. And if it got too high, it was a bad deal when you ran out of rope. Well, that's a bad deal. And if you're too low, you had too much rope, you had to pull out of the D-ring when you're
those pilots were pretty good.
They were absolutely unbelievable.
And the whole time, it's like being a paratrooper. The whole time, you're exposed to the enemy.
Yes.
As you're coming down.
Yeah, brought forward the pucker factor when they're shooting at you and you're going in that rope.
How many guys would be going down the ropes?
Just one at a time.
Okay. How many would you?
As fast as you could.
8 people on the helicopter, or
We had,
6?
you know, I got to studying, and a normal line unit was a lot larger than ours. We had about 8. Had the RTO 60, maybe a grenadier, and a rifleman, and we'd usually carry about a platoon in a slick, which is about 8.
So you had somebody with a 50 cal? No,
60.
Okay, 60 caliber.
50 way too heavy.
Okay, but you would carry, everybody have a bandolier of ammunition.
I
carry?
didn't because I had the radio.
Okay.
That thing weighed about 500 pounds after about a click. I had a radio. I had 12 smokes, about 6 or 8 trip flares. I did not carry frags. And I had 35 rounds, 35 mag. And
So y'all were pretty well armed then.
we
You
were
could hold your own for a little bit.
we worked with LERPs. When they got into made contact, they'd call us in, and they traveled a lot lighter, and usually they wanted us. I don't know if it was for us or for our Cobras, because our Cobras worked with us.
They needed somebody to,
Well,
you know,
they'd cover us pretty good, and one of their you put your rope in, wrap around the D ring. You damn sure better do that. Or
go straight down.
You go
quick.
way too fast. And you stopped yourself back here. And if you have a radio on your back, you got to keep going
my.
upside down
Because
all the weights.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first time I rappelled under fire, I swear to God, my gloves were smoking when we hit the ground. And I ended up getting all blistered up. And that was my first experience with hydrogen peroxide. The doc poured that all over my blisters and it started foaming up. And I said, God almighty, that looks like that should hurt. But it didn't.
It's not like pouring alcohol in there.
Well, that would hurt. But back to my first when they trained us on the 65-foot tower, and they gave us about 8 foot of slack. And you're supposed to back up to this tower and jump up and out. And it took about, maybe a week before your rope caught. And that was the worst feeling, falling till your rope slack
You
caught.
have to trust the system.
Yeah, well, yeah, you did. And sometimes you didn't know if that's what you wanted to do. But yeah, rappelling was a experience. And then we had to train the Irvings how to rappel, and
That's the Vietnamese regulars.
Army of the Republic of Vietnam,
Okay.
South Vietnam. And they were fun to train. I mean, they wouldn't get out of the helicopter, and we had to help them.
Give them a little push.
Yeah. They'd
Encouragement.
say no.
And you said yes, bye.
Yeah.
And so whenever you started going out with your unit, you were away from the place that you originally came in. So were you in a little village, or
Well,
did you have
we
compound with?
I was at Song Bay.
Okay.
The first place we were Song Bay. We lived in sewer pipes that were sandbagged.
Okay.
And it was an old, I think, Special Forces base. They had a little active that was is it PCP, that metal stuff they laid down
For the runway?
for the runway. And first to 9th A Troop was there. And from there we moved to Phuc Vien, which had a big, giant active, big place. And I think the LRPs were based out of there. And then we moved to Tay Ninh, right at the base of Nui Ba Dien. And when we moved there, I don't think anybody else was there. And I'll never forget the first night there, because they flew us in there one night, and I didn't know where anything was or anything. It was kind of a bad feeling. But when everybody else showed up, we lived in a big tent, which wasn't very secure if we were taking incoming. But Nui Ba Dien was this mountain that we had an outpost on top that was American, but nobody ever made it from the bottom to the top on foot, because the story was there was NVA R&R center there, hospitals, and supposedly a tunnel underneath that thing. You could drive a deuce and a half down to Cambodia. And
Under this mountain that you're
yeah, and I never saw it, never wanted to, so I can't verify that, but always heard that. But those people, during monsoon season, it started raining cats and dogs about dusk, and they try to overrun us because we couldn't get our Cobras up. So that was always fun.
So they'd be shooting small arm fire.
It was mostly
mortars?
We didn't
take
no mortars, just a lot of green tracers that make you pucker up too.
Yeah, 'cause you could see when they were getting close.
Yeah, you didn't like.
And they used green tracers, and we used
Red,
the red ones.
Unless we were carrying an AK. Some of our LRPs carried AKs.
That looks like that'd be a dead giveaway. If
Well,
you're getting green tracers, you
speaking of that, you know how the Army
cut down on friendly fire.
The Army, is always supplies you so well. At one point, every magazine I had was totally full of tracers.
That's not good.
That's not
Light
good.
up, light
That's
up
all we
like-
could get. And finally we got some real ammunition. It's supposed to be about every third or fourth, I think. I can't remember. Tracer. But we just had a mad minute and got rid of them.
Did they have somebody loading the magazines, or was that your job? Did you have to load your own magazines?
We did.
Okay.
And
Get
then
good at doing that.
and then we
fast.
could empty them too. We emptied them faster.
So, whenever you go out in the
See these 30 round magazines now, and I'm thinking, where were they?
that
Where
would
were
have been
they?
nice to have.
Because those little, they were 20s, but we only had 18 in them.
Once you put it on fully automatic, they go
They
quick.
didn't last long, especially if you're doing one of these numbers, trying to see recon by fire. But and plus, you had to get proficient at reloading quick,
Yeah.
because it's not a good feeling when you're empty.
I don't think it would be. So you go out, you stayed at the base, you slept there most of the time?
Oh, that was air
Or-
mobile. That was
okay.
the beauty of being air mobile.
You didn't have to sleep
didn't-
out in the jungle every night.
We didn't log, the regular line units would log 20, 30 days out in the bush and living on sea rations and
Gets old.
smelling like goats and all the other stuff that goes with it. But we were air mobile, which, a lot of times we'd be in the comfort of our sewer pipe we lived in, living on a cot. But the disadvantage was we could be bored to tears one minute, and the next minute we'd be on a slick pulling pitch real hard going somewhere, and where are we going? What do we got? Do we have to do we saddle up? Do we rappel? What do we do? And you'd find up on the shift, alerts made contact, or we got downed aircraft or whatever.
Mm.
And then sometimes we would fly what they called chuck command control. We'd just be sitting up in a slick flying around waiting for somebody to get shot down. And that was, on a good day, boring, where you'd be falling asleep up there where nobody was getting shot down. And plus it, we didn't have any seats in our helicopters. We
You're just sitting on the floor.
sitting on the floor. So it's a little uncomfortable. But if you ever took a round in a helicopter, that is real uncomfortable. I don't care where it hits, it just rattles the cage.
Oh my!
And you talk about pucker.
You never did get shot down though.
No.
Did you? Okay. Just got shot at, but hit some, but not shot down.
Met a guy named, I think his name is Stan Cornish. He was a loach pilot. He was from Fort Worth. We honored him at the barbecue several years ago. I think he moved to Houston since then, but he was a loach pilot, and he had the fame of being shot down twice in 10 minutes. He's a loach pilot, but he's got one hell of a story. He should be here instead of me. He got shot up bad. Got shot down and shot about 5 times and made it out, and ended up flying for the CIA for a while and then came back. But he's got a whole bunch of stories.
And whenever you go out to rescue these guys, some of them were in bad shape, weren't they?
Oh yeah, we worked with Dust Off,
Okay.
and they would
You'd have to go kind of secure.
we have to secure it and get them out.
Secure an LZ or something, maybe, or just
Well,
secure the area,
that or some of the worst ones we had was the one that really sticks in my mind was a down slick. We think by 51 cal. Didn't have any. All it had was a pilot, co-pilot, gunner, and crew chief. But it hit, and 2 of them managed to get out. And that helicopter melted down into a heap of aluminum, and we got to dig the other 2 out. We medevac 2, and then got to dig the other 2 out, and that was not.
It was a nightmare, wasn't it?
Oh man, you just don't forget that. And the 2 of the guys, I think, had like a week left in country or something like that. That happened way too often.
Y'all didn't take very many like medevac patients out. I mean, you let the dust offs come in, or sometimes
They
you'd
would
have to
come
get
in
out of
and we'd
there.
have to
Yeah,
put them in the
helicopter or the litter.
litter. Yeah.
So,
And it's
so
better
you saw a
shape.
lot of bad stuff then. I mean,
Well, more than I wanted to.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of guys saw a hell of a lot worse stuff and a lot more of it. But I saw plenty for me.
Did you have any times whenever you had pretty intense battles with?
Thank God for our Cobras. We get in a firefight and it wouldn't last long.
Okay, they come in and
We'd say,
take care of them.
come to this party quickly. And they would. We took care of them. They took care of us.
Because y'all were a team and y'all kind of flew together. It wasn't like
yeah.
you had the radio and so we don't have anybody available, but y'all kind of worked together.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And our slick pilots would get us in and out of places that were impossible.
And sometimes you had to penetrate through the jungle to get down.
Well, rappelling.
Yeah.
And then they'd have these what they called hover downs, where they didn't know how hard it was, what we were landing on exactly, and they'd say, we got maybe just a couple feet. You got to jump out, and it was never just 2 feet. It was, especially at the damn radio.
Sometimes it was in the mud, huh?
Well, never had any mud, but I had some vines get me once. I jumped down, hit the top of some vines, and sunk up to my neck. Yeah. And that was a job getting out of, because my ship left, next ship came in, and the tail rotor was way too close. And I said, keep steady on them pedals, because those pedals are what control the tail rotor. And
you didn't need a haircut.
No. Too many people. I've heard so many stories about people getting killed in Vietnam walking into a tail rotor. Heard that all the time. And of course, I wasn't walking towards this one.
You can't
I was
see
just
it while it's going around. I mean,
yeah.
In all that jungle stuff, did you run into any snakes?
I did. On this one particular mission, I think it was an early mission for me. Lerps had a couple kills, called in a tracker dog team. Those guys, it was amazing to see the dogs repel. After the handlers repel in, and the dogs would repel in. That was amazing.
The dogs came down, because sometimes we see those pictures of those guys and they'll have the
carrying
dog
them.
Carrying
the dogs, them. These dogs came down by themselves, and they're just up there. And anyways, they went out on these blood trails, and we were kind of kicking back, and one of them little pit vipers caught it out of my peripheral over here, was kind of sneaking past me, and I thought, oh, that's one of those. And
you don't want to shoot it, because then you'll draw attention.
Well, I was reaching up from a bolo knife, and that thing froze, and I swear the thing looked at me. And I froze, and it just kept going finally. And I said, thank you.
Those are pretty deadly, aren't they?
I heard that they were called the two-step. They hit your nervous system. Heard that 2 people that got bit by them made it. They got bit. I didn't want any part of it.
You didn't want to test it and see if you would be one of the lucky
I'm pretty
ones.
sure. I'm pretty sure Murphy wouldn't allow that. But yeah, and then at one point, I think this was it. Canaan. The cab was standing down, so everybody was moving to Xeon for the stand down, and the Blues were the last ones there. And I don't know if it's a cobra, but it was a big old long gray snake, and a mongoose was chasing it. And I thought, come on, mongoose. But I don't know how that ended up, because I didn't get close. And I don't even know if it's a cobra, but it looked close enough for it to be one for me.
Did y'all's unit suffer a lot of casualties?
Not too many. The blues, we didn't lose anybody.
What were the blues?
Those were the grunts.
Okay.
We had the reds, which were the gunships, and the slicks, and the whites, which were the scouts, which were the loach pilots, and the blues. The blues were the grunts. Therefore, if there was for lack of a better term, a shit detail,
Yeah.
they call on us, and then also our normal infantry stuff. So we were the blues.
Y'all were the last out.
Yeah, if they needed a ditch dug, they'd call us, or if they needed something secured, they'd call us, which brings to mind a story I told at roll call. One day, I don't even remember where this was, but we had kind of a busy work detail. We were supposed to go secure something for somebody, and there's some big wig. But they didn't show up. So we said, okay, let's go. Said, no, you're not leaving. And we were sitting around, and we had this E6 he's got a hell of a story too, but we were bitching at him and said, it's beer 30. We got to get out of here. Let's go home. And he said, they won't let us. And somehow he got on a slick and flew back and got some of those food containers and filled them up full of ice and beer and brought it out there to us. Because
if you can't get to the beer can come to you, right?
And opened that first one up, and it was rusty cans of Falstaff. And I thought, shit. But we drank it, and it was cold. It was wet.
Sometimes you had to drink it hot, didn't you? Or was it always cold?
It was very seldom cold. And what was it? There's a Vietnamese beer called Tiger 33 that was nasty, but we drank it when we had to. Didn't ever see a Budweiser.
Did you go to any USO shows? Did they come through while you were there? Because I know a lot of times we'd see Bob Hope or, some of the actresses come out. And
there was one day. Uh-oh, incoming. One day.
We're playing pickleball next door.
Is that where that is?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. But anyways, where was I? Oh, we were at Tane Inn, and a donut dolly landed, which was a round-eyed blonde, kind of like Mary. Showing up
donut dolly.
If you can imagine a big company full of Don Graves. So, and that was the closest thing I got to a USO show. But after the Cavs stood down, I went down south. One day, what was this? Don Garlitz and Art Pollard flew down, and I said, I got to go talk to them. Don Garlitz, you know him.
Yeah.
The old
race car driver.
Drag.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah.
And
he
that
had a nickname, didn't he?
The Snake.
The Snake.
No, that was Prudhomme.
That was Prudhomme.
That was Prudhomme. Garlitz was Big Daddy.
Big
Don,
Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Don Garlitz.
This was the year when the dragsters were going from front seat to slingshot.
Yeah.
And he put off building his dragster to come over to visit in Vietnam.
Mm.
And I got to talk to him. And Art Pollard, who was a IndyCar driver, and he got killed the next year at Indianapolis.
Wow.
But that's the closest thing I got to a USO show. But I was kind of a gearhead, so I enjoyed that.
What year was that?
71.
Wow.
71.
When I was a kid, our old family farm backed up to Green Valley before it was built.
Up
Green
here?
Valley Raceway.
Yeah, Green Valley and Smithfield.
That was before my time here, but
62.
Ross Downs.
It was out there.
Ross
Ross
Downs.
Downs was a
Every-
drag strip.
Well, it was a short track, famous
Yeah,
short
it used
track.
to be a horse track.
Yeah.
My daddy ran horses out there.
When I moved here from Missouri, all I heard, because that's what I used to do,
Dirt track?
is flat track. All I heard about was Ross Downs. And I went to a Ross Downs reunion, And a guy said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Bill Henry." He said, "I remember you." I said, "No, you don't. I wasn't here yet." He'd had a few beverages, and he said, "No, I remember you." And I said, "Okay, okay," but I never got to race at Ross Downs. But
It was called Arlington Downs when it was the race horse track.
yeah, well, there's a lot of famous guys that raced at Ross Downs.
Yeah, there's a lot of famous guys that raced at Green Valley.
Oh yeah, all of them.
They'd come.
That was a
story
national
was
spot.
national
Yes.
riders would come to Ross Downs and leave with their tail between their legs a lot of times. Anywho,
Did you go? Did they have R&R back then? Where you
they
went?
did.
Did you go to R&R?
I did, and boy, did I screw up. I should have gone to Australia. I went to Taipei, and we overindulged on tab top Budweisers and real chocolate bars. And
Some of that stuff you just missed being over there as far as food and drinks. And,
oh hell, when I got home, I ate a Big Mac just about every day for a year, and I can't look at them now.
How long were you in Vietnam?
Year,
A year?
yeah, 6 months with the Cav, and then 6 months the Cav went home and they made me a Rimph.
what's
Yeah.
what's a rim?
So when they were drawing down, you were coming home. That's a great story. I love this story.
Well,
Hmm.
we need to paraphrase on it. They stuck me in an office, and I was an instant Rimph, which is this PG?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
You
PG.
can't. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I'll paraphrase it. Rear echelon mother fricker?
Yeah,
Is that
that'll fly.
A rim.
okay? And that was an adjustment. Matter of fact, it was probably a good thing for me. They housebroke me before they sent me home. They stuck me in an office, and there I was,
No more flying.
a
Or,
grunt sitting in an office.
Yeah, so tell that story. That because this is really a great story.
About sitting in an office?
Yeah, there were some things happened, weren't there? Didn't you have a little
Oh.
interaction?
I did have some adjustments down there. One of the first days, I was trying to go in the wrong mess hall. It was a officer's mess, and I couldn't find NCO mess. And some captain, obviously a newbie captain, had dark green jungles on, and he looked at me and he said, "Son, why them boots so hungry looking?" And I said, "Sir, I just got here." Bush. And he said, "But I still want to know why them boots are so hungry looking." And I looked at him and I said, "Sir, have you ever been in the bush?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, you probably need to try it." And then
not any boot polish in the bush, is it?
well, there's not time for that. And instantly I thought, I should have kept my mouth shut. But this guy with him said, "Hey, let's come here." And he kind of saved my butt. And then there's another time down there. There was a 1-star driving around in a Jeep, and I didn't salute him. And he pulled over and started chewing on me. And I said, "Sir, I apologize. I came from a place where we didn't salute.
Didn't want to give them
We didn't
away.
want
Right,
to get
right.
your butt shot." He said, "Well, here it's different." And I said, "Okay, sir. I think you made your point." But yeah, there's a lot of adjustment. And then we had a warrant officer that was in charge of. I worked in personnel, and he said, "If we start taking a mortar attack, you guys need to be right here so we can make body counts." And we're in a wooden frame building. I said, "If we're taking rounds, I'm not going to be in this building. Otherwise, if we take a round in this building, we won't be able to count anything." And he kind of said, "Well,"
Probably
okay.
got a point there, huh?
He didn't have a response, but there was just a big, and it was an adjustment period for me before I came came stateside, so it was probably good.
Was there adjustment period afterwards? Do you have any?
After getting home,
Yeah, after getting
oh
home.
hell yes, eating Big Macs every day for a year, and sleeping in a real bed, and trying to find a job, and
Because there was a lot of guys coming back that needed work.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know if I can say this or
You
not.
come back to Missouri?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was interviewing a place, and they said, "Got your degree, got your military out of the way. If you're only black," and I said, "I get your point, but okay."
So you needed a job.
Yeah, a lot of, because to your point, a lot of
Yeah.
people coming home,
Yeah,
you know, kind of like after any war, you've got, there's, you know, when the men left, there's a vacuum, right? And then you come home and that vacuum had been filled, and now everybody's trying to get back into the workforce.
So what'd you do to what kind of work did you do when you did get a job?
I went to work for GTE, General Telephone Electronics Midwest, in the corporate world,
That's a lot different than the
and I
job.
had a hell of a time fitting that. I should have been working with my hands instead of my mind. I worked there about 8 years.
But you kind of got back into society, and then you
Oh,
moved
yeah.
to Texas.
Moved to Texas right before my ex brother-in-law had a commercial real estate firm here, and we moved to Texas right before what was it, about 12, 20, 30, I don't know, 50, 20 years ago, the real estate bust. We moved here right before that.
Okay.
And survived, and ended up working for one of the guys that was doing our landscape maintenance and stuff, and ended up doing that for years, working for a nursery. Used to be out on West Vickery, Tim's nursery, and just was happier working outside.
When did you start wearing the cab hat? You kind of
Well, thanks to you guys, I was kind of shy about it, and again, Mark Donahue and Mark was having an IPA, and I was having my low carb beverage, and we started swapping lies, and he said, "We're going to get you up in front of roll call." I said, "No, you're not." And finally, I thought, this guy's serious. And by the way, Mark was on a submarine, and when he comes up and puts the arm around me and calls me honey, I get nervous.
Yeah.
I get nervous. But anyways, where were we?
the hat.
Oh yeah.
I
figured-
think those hats look pretty
Well,
cool.
I got to research
I wished I'd been in the cab so I could wear one.
I got to research in my unit, and I thought, damn, I was one of them. And there's a light colonel down in Fort Hood that said the cav hat can be worn. It's correct uniform. And I thought, well, I'm going to build one. And I built it and wore it to a couple things. And everybody said, I want that hat. And I said, well, you can't have it.
You gotta earn it. You gotta be
yeah,
part
that's
of it.
earned.
And then my wife, she's still getting used to it. She
I think
says,
it looks pretty good.
I do too.
she says, are you wearing that? I said, you damn right I am.
Well, we like your hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still a little shy. I went to a couple. I went to the thing you snuck me in on, the
Woody
the
salute.
Woody salute, and my wife couldn't go. She scratched her eye, and so I took my daughter, and I put my hat in the truck, and we drove to the deal. And I said, "Do you think I ought to wear mine?" And she said, "You
You need to
damn
wear
right."
that. You need to wear
Yeah.
that everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So I did, and I'm still a little shy about it, but I'm proud of my hat.
I'm proud of. I'm
I'm
proud
proud
that
of
And
you
you
can
should
wear
be
it
proud.
because it's a symbol to a lot of people that you're part of the CAV, part of the history
Not
of our
long.
country.
I was just half a tour there, but
Hey, that's more than we did.
so yeah, I'm lucky to be able to wear it.
You're lucky to be back here alive.
Well, I'm very
because
lucky. I
we have
mean,
58,000
that's
people
another-
that didn't.
another reason I'm shy about doing this. A lot of guys didn't get so lucky.
Well, we're glad that you came here to tell the stories.
Have you, I'm always curious after you spoke at roll call and after, people get to know you and know a little about your story. Has anybody come up and started to just talk about their experiences compared to your experiences? And
I got to go on honor flight in April. And there's a guy I met immediately at honor flight named Don Royals. He was a crew chief on a Caribou. And everybody that I talked to that's a pilot saying, I don't know if I can say this.
Don't say it if you don't know.
Those sons of whatever are all crazy in those Caribou.
Well, I thought that about some of the UE pilots I flew with.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. But Don on the honor flight was right where I was a long time ago. And he said he got to place the wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown. And he started crying like a baby. And I did too. But
It's pretty emotional, isn't it?
yes, I'm sorry. But anyways, I got Don to come to roll call the last meeting. And I don't know if he's going to come back or not. He's still shy about it. But on that honor flight, he said this is the first time I've ever done anything about my Vietnam stuff. And
Kind of brings some closure to it, doesn't it?
well, I'm trying to help him. I said, come on. And I made him come to the last one. He said, I'm not a joiner. I don't know if I'm coming back or not. But at least I got him there.
And that's the thing about roll call,
Oh, roll call.
You come there.
I can't
and
say enough good
it's
things
just,
about
it's
roll
like
call.
Mary said, it's just, you have to experience it. It's nothing that you
It's
can
honor
describe.
flight was a hell of an honor to
They take you
go.
to Washington, D.C. and take you around a lot of different places.
And it was I'll never forget the experience, but roll call does the same damn thing every month.
Every month.
It's unbelievable. I can't say enough good things about roll call.
Well, I'm glad that you showed up to roll call. I'm glad that you showed up here because
So I was scared. I was scared.
I want everybody that's watching this and everybody that watches it to leave a comment and just tell us about how you appreciate Bill and his service and his stories, because he's got some good stories. And we're just glad that you're here, Bill. And we're going to let you off the hook now because our time's just about up. So that's good.
We
see,
made
it
it.
just
You did
wasn't
good.
that bad,
I
was
didn't.
it?
Well, I started crying at the end. I'm sorry.
That's
That's
good.
all right.
That's good.
Hey, that's good.
But and we're just real grateful for Larry because he
He is the
sponsored this.
first person I ran into that knew about our elections administrator. I had to tell everybody else. He's telling me more I didn't know about it.
Well, you don't have to wait for roll call to come back. You come over anytime. I'm only here 7 days a week.
Well,
Stop
come
in and
here.
visit.
I leave early. I leave by 2,
well,
but I get here way before the sun comes up.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
we've enjoyed having you today.
well,
And
I hope if this is on Facebook, you got to know I'm banned from Facebook. So I hope I don't get you shut down.
no,
That's all right.
not-
We
not
won't get
yet.
shut down.
But we look forward to hearing some more stories sometime at roll call, and you're always welcome back here.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I don't know if I
We
deserve
appreciate
it.
you too.
Yeah.
You're a great American, and we look forward to seeing you at roll call.
Oh
And-
yeah, you got to come.
Yeah, we need to get Larry there.
I call it chemistry. I don't know what it is, but the first time I went to roll call, I thought, damn, this is something else.
Yeah.
And I don't miss it
Most people,
unless
once
I
they
send in
come-
the wrong RSVP
RSVP.
date.
The
Well,
wrong
they
date.
switched
Oh,
that.
I always fix it for him. Yeah. So
Didn't
temporary.
y'all have a different?
Well,
y'all tried something?
right, temporarily. So we had some bugs in the system. We tried to do it through the website. It was allowing people to continue to RSVP after we hit our maximum number. So we haven't been able to work the bugs out. So we'll try again in October if we can work the bugs out. But in the meantime, we reverted back to the old system because
I'm better at old systems.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
Don't
it.
fix
well,
it.
it's a lot of work for me though. So we're trying to find a way to make it a little easier on me. And then we don't have people continuing RSVP once we're full. And it just, as technology goes,
That's right.
Tell our
doesn't
listeners how do
always
they RSVP and how do they donate money to roll call or whatever? Because y'all, everything
We're
is on the-
501c3.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
Donations is what feeds our vets. So.
Yeah, we don't have a paid staff member. We have the board runs the show. We have almost 1,200 members at Roll Call. You can find out more about us by going to our webpage. You can Google us at Roll Call of North Texas, or you can just go to www.roll-call.org. And you will find out, you'll see videos, you'll see all kinds of information. There's a contact us form there. There are ways to fill out the new attendee form if you want to come to the luncheons. If you just want to get the newsletter, you're not local, you're watching this from somewhere else, and you just want to get the newsletter and see what's happening once a month, you can sign up for the newsletter. You want to volunteer, you can volunteer there. You want to donate and help us out. We do, everything is by donation. We are a 501c3.
We're looking for sponsors. So.
And so you can contact us through there. You can donate through our website. You can reach out to us again at the info@roll-call.org or call us at 817-507-5879.
Is that information on y'all's Hometown Heroes Facebook
It
group?
should be. It should be.
Don't know, can't get on.
We're gonna have
We'll
to tell
put
you
that
how
up.
to go under a different name. You can have another account.
Be an
And we'll
alien.
call you something else.
All my race buddies I used to keep up with on
The mission, yeah.
on Facebook. I've got a lot of pictures and all that stuff, and I need to get a hold of Zuckerberg and say,
You don't want to get a hold of Zuckerberg.
no, he's probably, no, I don't. You're right.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
I hear you.
He sees you in that first cab hat, and I guarantee you, he'd probably X-nay you again.
Yeah.
At that Woody's thing, there's a bunch of Marines there, and I got a lot of flack from the Marines about my hat, and I said, thank you.
Yep, there you go.
Well, that's all our show for today.
Thank
And
you.
Larry. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
And
It's always an honor.
Thanks.
Classic Auto Detail. What's your phone number?
817-965-2626. Only had it 40 years.
Okay, you ought to know it by heart.
Yeah.
But we thank you for sponsoring us. We thank you for your service to our
Well,
country
Oh,
we
yeah.
and
try-
your service to our community.
And also for putting up with us.
Well, that's what it's all about. We just try to bring information to people that wouldn't know about any of us.
That's right.
Rick and I talked about this for years. We should have done it 7 years ago,
And we're doing it now.
but
So
we're catching
That's
up.
and we want to hear your stories too. So just contact us.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Uh,
you tell stories too.
Yep.
Oh, he tells
If
a
you-
lot
If
of
you have
stories.
if you have a story that needs to be told, if you're one of our hometown heroes and we don't know you yet, we want to get to know you. So reach out to us and
That's right.
we'll get you on the show.
And we'll see y'all next week on
Same
Hometown
time,
Heroes.
same place. That was a good show.